Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And as promised earlier today, we'll be discussing, of course, the Egyptian-African relations in light of the latest visit by the Somali president, who met with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in Cairo yesterday. And we're delighted to be joined over the telephone by His Excellency, Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, the former Assistant Foreign Minister. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Ambassador.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Fine, thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Ambassador. Let me start by asking you, Egypt has asserted many times its role, and the president himself, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, said many times and in different occasions that Egypt aims to work side by side with African countries to achieve sustainable development. How do you see this, and what is the main factor needed to really achieve development within African countries as a whole?
Above all, we are African country.
Yes.
We are one of the largest African countries, and half of the Arab world is in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Since decades in the old history, it seems that our pharaonic fathers, they went with their boats along the western beach of Africa and along the eastern beach of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
If you know the kingdom of Swaziland, which is in the middle of South
Africa, yes.
They would show you their tourism pamphlet saying that they are proud that they have Egyptian origin.
Mm-hmm.
In Cameroon, in the west of Africa, I was ambassador there, and some tribes that they are proud that they have Egyptian origin, and they're still building their houses in the shape of pyramids. So, this is Egypt. Of course, the River Nile is the main stream of friendship and fraternal relations. Now, since I will jump to the recent history of Gamal Abdel Nasser and his counterparts, Nkrumah or Lumumba, and all these leaders who fight the colonialism time in order to gain their independence.
Mm-hmm.
So they look to Egypt as Gamal Abdel Nasser with very amicable way. Also, Boutros Ghali is a very important name in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And we lost some years without using the most important tool of our diplomacy, which is a presidential diplomacy.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have a very active president. He went to several countries. I'm amazed that he went to Equatorial Guinea. I was ambassador in Cameroon and non-resident ambassador in Equatorial Guinea.
Mm-hmm.
Our president went there and they built an embassy, and now we have an embassy in Equatorial Guinea, which now is an oil country.
Mm-hmm.
So we are everywhere. We are represented everywhere in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And I can say with all confidence that we are the most accepted face in Africa.
Absolutely, indeed.
That's why who wants to deal with Africa, he must come through the door of Cairo.
Absolutely, Mr. Ambassador. And we've also seen, President el-Sisi calling for formulating a clear African strategy to eliminate, challenges facing the African continent, like issues related to terrorism, which in turn end up drying sources of financing. How important do you see such an implementation of these agreements to combat terrorism in order for African nations to develop politically and economically?
Very important, because we are committed as countries and as the continent to fight the organized crime, whether
yes.
it is terrorism, drug trafficking, illegal immigration, and money laundering.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, during the presidency and the chairmanship of our president of the African Union, he did enormous efforts in all these concerns.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have better relations, then you have to establish organizations and institutions in order to carry on whatever you are aiming at.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we are doing. We have established the big free trade African group, free trade area. We establish now many organizations in order to carry on whatever we want as policies and aims in the African continent. So
Absolutely.
this is one of those institutions which will depend on in order to carry on whatever we need.
Indeed. Now, Mr. Ambassador, moving to the economic side of things, Egypt chaired the COMESA meetings last year as President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi assumed chairmanship of the 21st Summit of COMESA Heads of State. During this summit, the President launched the COMESA Medium-Term Strategic Plan to deepen economic and regional ties and integration amongst the group countries. Again, tell us a bit about the role of economic collaboration amongst African countries.
Very important. The scene is when we joined the COMESA in 1990, our trade with Africa is tripled. And the good news also that our trade balance is in favor of Egypt. But it is still less of what we are aiming at, less than our ability. So we need to do our homework. Africa needs many things in order to be at the level which we are aiming at. Roads, airway traffic is not like you would like. Ports and maritime transport is not what we need. Banking system is very deteriorated. You don't have first-class banks in Africa. That's why one of the decisions of our president is to open branches of Egypt National Bank of Egypt and Misr Bank also. So we have a lot of homework to be done in order to be able to absorb more and more finance and investment. But we are on the right track. The World Bank is helping us in many fields. The Islamic Bank has a good role in Africa, and it is our task to manage how to be much better than we are.
Absolutely. And we've seen, the economic recovery of African nations has required the enhancement of trade and investment as well as the infrastructure of African countries. And we have seen President el-Sisi's speech, which he delivered via video conference in the 8th gathering of the Forum of the China-Africa Cooperation on the importance of this forum and the impacts of, the global economic situation on the African continent. How do you see, the role of other countries in their quest to further invest?
This is one very good part of our new policy.
Yes.
That we convinced our partners in Europe, and when Sameh Shukri was there for the Partnership Council, he convinced the Europeans in order to finance projects of investment in Africa with the Egyptian experience. We did so also with the China. When our president was visiting Tokyo, the TICAD meeting, Japan also agreed upon whatever we are talking about concerning finance. Because Africa really is a good chance, but there are many obstacles which I mentioned to some of them. So the whole world is looking more positively to Africa, and it's our role to market for this. It takes a hell of effort in order to market for Africa, because if you are the investor, why to go in the South Africa and even the roads are not what would you like, not come to a city in Europe or even a city in the North African countries, which are much higher developed. So we need to compensate the investor and to make him able to come and to compensate him to what effort he is doing.
Indeed. And also, we've seen the efforts of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in hosting many African leaders over the last few years. Just recently, he met with the Somalian president in Cairo, and they discussed, of course, a host of bilateral and regional issues. Amongst them were the latest developments regarding the Ethiopian dam and ways to enforce security and stability, especially in the Red Sea. How do you see the meeting between the Egyptian and Somalian presidents?
Somalia is an old story of Egypt, and if you see the Egyptian old history, you will see that our pharaonic grandfathers, they went to this part of the world, they call it the Kingdom of Punt, and it is in our culture that we have this very old relations. Then before even the revolution of 52, we were helping Somalia for its independence from the Italian occupation. And we have victims there. Ambassador Kamal al-Din Salah, if you drive your car on the Qasr al-Nil bridge, before you see the building of the Foreign Office in Tahrir Square, you have the tunnel of Kamal al-Din Salah. Kamal al-Din Salah was killed in Somalia by an Ethiopian because he was helping Somalia for its independence. This show you that
history and the ties, yes.
From the very beginning of the new Somalia, we are doing our best.
Absolutely.
So, and every single president of Somalia, we host them in Cairo, and Somalia is very important as a geographic and historical leader. It is very important for the maritime in Suez Canal and the Red Sea, and we are keen to make sure of the security of this part of the world for the sake of our maritime safety.
Absolutely right. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Your Excellency Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former assistant to the Foreign Minister. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and your insight on this edition of Cairo Local Time. And that's all the time we have for you today. We do hope you have enjoyed our episode. Join us again tomorrow just after 4 p.m. for a new episode with a new crew. Till then, you're in the company of myself and Meher. Many thanks for watching.